go?
We first turned this plot into a no-dig allotment in January of this year. We cleared everything off completely from last year's harvests. We didn't weed it, we didn't dig it over. We just put cardboard in 4-foot strips along, put compost on top, and then we've got 1 foot wide pathways so that we can get either side of the beds to be able to do the harvesting. In February we sowed all the seeds, but we also used the moon phase gardening methods for sowing seeds using the waxing and winding stages, but we'll cover all that in another video. Once the seeds have germinated, then we take them into a cold greenhouse, prick them out to let them grow on. We planted everything out in mid-March, and normally in this area it's really too soon to, well, everybody tells us that it's too soon to plant anything out and things wouldn't survive, but obviously everything has. We put everything in mid-March, and then we started harvesting salads, for example, on the 20th of April. Now, April this year has been one of the coldest Aprils that we've had on record. Out of the whole month we've had about 18-20 major frosts all through the night. All the lettuces have been frozen solid in the morning, the brassicas, the peas, the beans, they've all been frozen solid. But we were still able to start harvesting on the 20th of February, 20th of April. We didn't lose a single plant through the frost, and harvesting, it's just gone beyond what we ever expected. All through May, just for harvesting salads, we took 8 kilos, and our salad bed is only from here to here, and 8 kilos just in 1 month off this, just by picking the outer leaves. But we'll also go through another video, we'll make another video of actually sowing the plants, pricking them out, planting them out, and the actual harvests.
What's it cost to set all this up?
There is a cost to it on the first time. I actually went to a garden centre in January and I bought 30 bags of 60-litre compost bags. That cost me about £150, and then we realised there was a recycling centre only about 3 miles away from where we lived. So I take my trailer over to there, which is a 600 kilo trailer, and I get that filled with organic compost for £20 a trailer. They will deliver it, but I'd rather just take my own trailer and do it as and when I want to. But every year since we've put the 6 inches of compost on, we only need to put 1 inch of compost at the back end around November or December time, which we're making our own compost. But eventually we'll make another video showing how to make the compost with brown waste and green waste.
So on average, how much would it cost to start up, would you say?
A lot will depend on the size of the plot. On this plot, I would say it's cost us, the original startup fee, about £220, and that's it.
That's the initial startup cost.
That's what
yeah.
That's what it's cost me for doing this piece. But then this plot is only 100 square metres.
Right. So going back to basics, when would you sow your seeds?
Okay, I use a method called the moon phase gardening. So everybody knows that the moon controls the oceans, makes the waves bigger and so on. So we get 2 different phases every month. We have a new moon and we have a full moon. Now what we call the waxing period, the waxing phase, is when you've got your new moon, and every night then until the full moon, the moon is getting bigger each night. It's getting larger and it's getting more pull onto the earth. The gravity, the moon's power is just pulling upwards all the time. So the oceans are getting bigger each night. The moon is getting bigger. A plant's makeup is majority water, so all your leafy crops, when you sow your seeds during the waxing period, all the energy is put into the seed for leaf crops to be able to grow upwards. Once you've hit the full moon, it goes then into a waning period where the moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller each day, each night, until it gets to the new moon, that is called the wining phase. So that is the time when all the emphasis on the germination is going into the roots. So that's the time you plant your carrots, your onions, your beetroots, your potatoes, and all your root crops, and they benefit from that.
I suppose you get most questions coming through on YouTube or whatever. What are the most common questions that you get?
The main question is, what is NoDig and how does it work? Well, basically you're planting plants into undisturbed soil. If you turn your soil over with a spade or with a fork or whatever, nature makes the soil, it has to recover, and that recovers in weeds, and you don't want your weeds throughout your plot. So once you put your cardboard down and you put your compost on the top, the cardboard, that degrades within 6 to 8 weeks, roughly. Could take a little bit longer, depends on what rain we have or the moisture and everything like that. But what happens is all the worms and all the microorganisms, they come and start eating away at the cardboard and the compost, and they're pulling it down. But while the worms and the microorganisms are eating away, they're also refertilising the soil. But we're not actually planting into the soil, we're planting into compost. The main tap root will go down into the soil, but all the other roots will remain in the compost. And then as time goes on, each year that goes on, the soil is getting more fertile, it's getting richer. We haven't put any sort of feeds on this at all. We're only 6 months into NoDig. We've got an abundance of crops, and there's been no feed other than the original compost that we put down.
Okay. What do you want out of NoDig? What are the reasons for you doing NoDig?
Okay, well, we want to do NoDig because we want to do it fully organically. Last year we did the allotment on the conventional way. We had proper beds, we had wooden sides on the beds, but all of our crops were eaten away with slugs. The birds kept coming. I've got this bed here with a net on. It's the only one that's got a net on, basically, because I want carrots in there. But what we did, we took away the wood, all the wood sides. The only wood we've got on here now is just around the outside of the bed. So we've got the seating area, we've got bark on that, and then we've got the actual allotment growing area.
Okay.
So what I would like to see from making these videos and doing the NoDig, we want to try and encourage as many people as possible to have a go at doing this system. It's so easy to do. In April, I was sitting down and we were harvesting salads at the end of April, and everybody else was out there digging their plots. We were sitting on the bench at the side there just having a cup of tea watching them, because everything had been done. There's less work for us to do. But what I'd like to do is to get as many people to have a go at this system. It doesn't matter how big your plot is at home, whether you've got a garden or whether it's just windowsills. You can grow salads in a little tiny tray like this, a plastic tray. All you need to do is make sure there's enough holes in it for drainage. Just line the tray with paper, put your cardboard, put your compost in the top, and then you can put half a dozen salad leaves in, salad plants, and then you just pick the outside leaves off. So if it's just 2 people at home, all you'd need really is about 6 or 7 salad plants, and you've got your weekly salad supply.
You've done some experiments with nettles and stuff for your feed, and is that more organically done? Or?
Fermented plant juice, it's called. A good friend of mine loaned me a book by Nigel Palmer, and it's regenerative gardening, and what it is, there's a recipe in there for putting your own natural NPK back into the plants. So you can go to the garden centres and buy different feeds. It can cost the earth for different feeds, especially if you're using liquid seaweed, which is really, really good, and it's a good organic way of putting produce back, putting nutrients back into the plants. We've not used any feeds on this at all, but I am going to have a go with using the fermented plant juice. So what it is on the recipe, I did it last Saturday. We took 250 grams of nettles, but it has to be done in the morning because you don't add any water to it at all, where a lot of gardeners add water to it and you get an awful smell. With this system you don't. So I've got 250 grams of nettles and I've got 180 grams of brown sugar. I put it all in a bucket and then I ripped it all apart. But I did use gloves because the nettles sting you like there's no tomorrow. So you just rip it all apart, and then I got a sterilised onion jar, pickled onion jar. So then we rammed all the mixture into this jar, and then I put a small layer of brown sugar on top of the mixture, and then I've got a small jam jar that fits inside the other jar to put it in, and a stone inside, and then its own gravity starts to weigh it down. Over 7 days, over the 7 days, it turned into a liquid. And if we just pause it there for a minute, I'll go and get the liquid to show you how much we got. So that's the amount of liquid I got out of 250 grams in 1 week. Now, this doesn't look very much, but it will go for a long, long time because the mixture ratio to this is 2 mils of this to 1 litre of water. And what you do, you put it into a spray bottle, and then it's a foliage spray. So you're spraying it actually onto the leaves and the actual foliage. That way, the plant is absorbing all the nutrients out of this, which is full of its own natural NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphate and potash, as we all know. But the foliage is absorbing all that moisture and that goodness within the hour, within minutes in some cases. Where if you put it in a watering can, which you can do, and water it on, it's got to go into the soil, it's got to go into the roots have got to find it and absorb the moisture from that, and that's before it even starts getting up into the plant and turning it into a healthy plant. So foliage spraying is far better than actual watering. We water as normal, but then we do this on the foliage spray.
How often do you water your garden then?
With NoDig, another good thing about it is the compost retains moisture. So we're in June now and we're having one of the hottest Junes that we've had, but I'm only watering this twice a week. Because if I put my finger into the compost now, here, it might be a little bit dry on the top, but underneath it is really, really moist. And that's what the plants thrive on. So
when's the best time to water though? Is it morning or evening or?
Okay, I try to water in the morning. What I prefer to do is water in the morning and let your plants go to bed at night dry. Because what happens is, if you water in the evening, everywhere is damp, slugs come out in the moisture and they start eating away at your plants. So I always do it in the morning. And so far this year, I haven't got any slug damage, where I lost majority of my crop last year through slugs.
I've noticed that most of your plants, you haven't got any yellow leaves on them. Some plants produce a yellow leaf. Obviously it's dying off. What would you do with those leaves? Do you just take them off?
What we do, we come round regularly, and if there's any yellow, here we go, here's one here. This is a leaf turning yellow. So all I do, take it off. This is an old leaf. It's not doing any good to the plant anymore. It's not photosynthesizing the plant anymore. All the good leaves are doing that. But if you leave this on, there's no slug damage at all on this. But if you leave it on, it'll turn totally yellow and it'll lie on the floor. So what happens then? The slugs will think, oh, here we go, we've got some food. Slugs have been put onto this earth as a clearing up mechanism. But if you leave this on the ground, slugs are just going to come and they'll eat this and they'll go straight onto the plant and carry on from there. So if you go around regularly and just pulling all the leaves off, there's another leaf here. This will be good compost. So then we just put it straight into the compost and the process goes over all again.
I've just taken over a plot. I've done it the NoDig version, but it's more flowers than anything.
Yeah.
What's your advice on that?
Okay. When you took that one on, it hasn't been used for years and years and years. It was all overgrown. There was rubble in it. We had to do some digging to be able to level it all out and get all the rubble out. And we had to start with blank canvas, and then we put cardboard down. But we'll just pause it there, we'll go over and we'll have a look and we'll explain exactly what we've done. Okay, so this is the area that Jeanette's done as a no-dig area. Now, on this section here, this was just full of old carpets, rubble, wood, plastic, and it all had to be dug out because obviously you can't grow anything when there's just an inch of soil on top of that. So we dug it all out completely. We've had to level it all off, and we marked out these flower beds. Grass seed all around the outside, so it's a walkway all around the outside. So what we did, it's not been dug over. All we did was put compost, cardboard down, and then on this one, because it's had no nutrients in it for years and years and years, we actually put some well-rotted horse manure straight on top of the cardboard. And then a good friend of ours had offered us some homemade compost, which he's had for over 4 years in his bin. So thank you to Andrew for letting us have that. We came along, we put it all in bags, and we put it all on top of this. Then we raised some beds underneath the trees, because obviously if you just put in plants straight into the ground where the trees are going to take all the moisture, but the compost retains moisture. So we put the cardboard on, compost on top, and those plants are doing quite well now, and they've only been in about 3 weeks, so they're doing okay. And we've put the plants all over, and the whole of this area now, which has never been used for years, it's thriving. There's a little display that Jeanette's made on the other side, so it looks as though when all that comes out in flower in blue, it'll look as though it's pouring out of the tub. But yeah, it's a nice little area now.
Go.
Okay, so I made up a mixture of the fermented plant juice made from nettles. I mixed 3 litres of water to 6 mils of the juice, and all I'm doing is just going to foliage spray. Make sure all the leaves get everything on there, all the goodness, and that's all you do. And the natural NPK is being absorbed straight away back into the leaves. So this is the first video we've done on this. So what we're going to do is leave it there until we've done the next video. But if anybody else wants to join in and help, join along, we're going to make videos step by step, every step of the way, all the way through, from sowing your seeds all the way through the harvest. So if you like what you see on the video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and press the notification button so you know exactly when the next video is coming. Until next time, bye.